This morning there was a tweet saying that June will be the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Could this mean we'll be seeing some information on some games regarding the Final Fantasy VII series? Let's talk about it. What's up, you guys? It's Kotetsu here, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming anniversary of Final Fantasy VII and what we could be expecting from it. Hopefully you guys are excited, or as excited as I am. If you guys are, make sure you guys leave a like, share, and comment on what you guys are excited or what you expect to see from next month's anniversary. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and before I forget, make sure you guys follow me on twitch.tv/Kotetsu Tokai. We're working on affiliation over there, and once we get to that affiliation, it's gonna be on. But enough of that, let's get into the video. Now, like I mentioned, I can't talk. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a tweet yesterday explaining that it is going to be the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and the creator of Final Fantasy himself told us that we're going to be seeing should be expecting some exciting news from the anniversary. Now, this could vary between a couple of things that I think we might see. The first thing I think we might actually see is some more gameplay for Final Fantasy EverQuest. Ever Crisis, I'm sorry. If you guys didn't know, Final Fantasy Ever Crisis was announced. It was like in files, and people mined it and found it, and they officially made an announcement for it. And the first sight of gameplay we saw was pretty much the bombing run of Final Fantasy VII, but more looking like it was a super upscale version of the PS1 version of Final Fantasy VII, with some modern graphics when it comes to the overworld, it looks like. But when it comes to combat, it definitely uses the Final Fantasy VII Remake character models and just the overall style when it comes to their combat. And also, if you guys didn't realize that, they also said that Ever Crisis is going to be featuring every single game that corresponds with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, that's going to be Final Fantasy, I believe it's Final Fantasy Before Crisis, Final Fantasy Crisis Core, Final Fantasy Trigger Cerberus, and then of course Final Fantasy itself. So we're going to be probably seeing, or we will be seeing, all four games, because at the end of that trailer we did see a little piece of Crisis Core where you see Zack running on top of the trains. If you remember, in Crisis Core, he was going through that training session at the beginning, and that's pretty much what we kind of saw in the Ever Crisis style of overworld. And we might even see a re-rendering of Zack in the battle system, so that's gonna be really exciting to see. I'm kind of hoping we do see that, because that's kind of actually getting me excited after I went back and watched it again before I talked about this. So yeah, Ever Crisis, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see Ever Crisis in next month's announcement or series of videos or whatever they're gonna do for the anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Now, this one might be a bit of a stretch because it doesn't necessarily correlate with Final Fantasy VII, but we might see something from Final Fantasy 16 finally. We got some news earlier this month saying that Final Fantasy 16 was in the beginning stage, or was in the final stages of the development, and they are finished, or they were in their final stages, or they are in their final stages. But let's just assume that they are done with the game, they're finished. Now they're starting to put out print, or they're doing the testing again and fixing some bugs, and we might get a print from this game. Now, like I said, it's a stretch that we might actually see anything for Final Fantasy 16, let alone even next month, because of course next month is E3 month, but we're not getting E3. But we might kind of see, it might not have anything to do with the anniversary, but we might actually see more you know, cinematics and gameplay, and maybe even some information about when this game is going to come out. But that's just kind of a stretch. I'm not 100% sure, but let's just cross our fingers for all of us who got a PS5 just for the sake of playing Final Fantasy 16. And lastly, and I think this is probably going to be the one that's more on track of what I'm talking about, news and information on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. If you guys don't remember, Final Fantasy VII Remake was supposed to be an episodic. A lot of us thought it was going to be 3 parts, but they said it's only going to be 2. The first part came out in March of 2020, and then we got Intergrade, I think it was called. I almost said integration, or something other than the title that allowed us to play as Yuffie. But we got that little expansion there, and of course, it's all just for us waiting for Final Fantasy VII Part 2. And I feel like this would be more of a valid, or kind of a for sure, like, I don't want to say rumor, but more of a speculation that we're going to see and hear more about Final Fantasy VII Part 2. Either they're already, you know, in their midst part of their development on the game, or they're just like, hey, you know what, we finished, we're just kind of waiting for this moment to talk about it. And we might, and if it is finished and they are pushing stuff out, I want to say we might see it mid 2023 or late 2023, or they might just have us wait another 2 years, 2024 in March when the first game dropped, and we might see it then. But who knows? I honestly think that we will see some Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 information next month when the anniversary of Final Fantasy VII is happening, but only time will tell. Alright, well, that is it, you guys, from me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, let me know if you find it informative. Let me know by leaving a like, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also let me know what you guys think about this anniversary that's happening next month. I totally forgot about it until I saw it that morning. Well, as of recording, I saw it this morning, and I was like, dude, Part 2, maybe? We might see a Part 2? So I'm hoping we do. Final Fantasy Remake was just amazing. I loved it. It's something I've wanted from Final Fantasy VII, and after playing Crisis Core, I wanted something like that for Final Fantasy VII. So I'm hoping we do get something like that. We are gonna get it. I'm hoping we do get information on Final Fantasy Part 2. But if you guys did enjoy this and found it informative, please let me know. Leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on twitch.tv/PotetsuTokai. I know I said I'm going to be coming back to streaming. I'm almost done with school. When I'm done with school, guys, I promise I will be back at full swing. I've been streaming here and there, but I promise I'll be back at full swing when all this is done, when I am a college graduate now. But anyway, that's it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys on the next one. You guys take care.